Tanner, where's your guns?
No guns today, Tanner?
I didn't have time to put them up.
So welcome, everybody. This is Monday Night Live with HVAC 2.0. Today, we're going to talk about the process with a major focus on the free quote process, which is going to be live in the next month or so. So this is our process here. If there are comfort problems to solve, the answer is yes, you go to the comfort consult. If the answer is no, you go to the free quote, which is simple replacement. This is the more thorough map. We call this the subway map of the process. And you can see that if there are problems to solve, no, free quote. At any point during a free quote, if you uncover problems that require a comfort consult, you can offer the comfort consult. And if they decline, then it's an offer decline, which is a thing that you're going to hear a lot about if you keep coming to these videos. And then the comfort consult below that is what most HVAC 2.0 guys like to do because they get 70 or 80% closing ratio on these jobs, and they're $20,000 to $40,000 jobs typically. And then backing that up is the comprehensive planning process. So again, this is the free quote. It's comprised of a prep email, a visit, a bid, doing the job, and then follow up. Pretty much what everybody's doing probably out there anyway, only with some bumpers on either side of the alley to help you responsibly avoid responsibility.
Can we take a couple steps back?
Yep.
Right. Nope. So the full roadmap is good.
This one?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this in detail. Where HVAC 2.0 started, right? Can you give us a little bit of background about that, Ted?
Sure. So
you started.
I started doing comprehensive energy audits in 2008 and developed a process that was very satisfying. Did big projects, had pretty good accuracy on energy savings back when I thought energy savings mattered, but also made homeowners really happy with their homes. And over time, I came to realize that's what really mattered to the homeowner. The energy savings was sort of nice, but having a house that amazed them was what really mattered. And then the comfort consult was kind of developed because not everybody needs $2,000 worth of planning to get their equipment replaced. But a lot of times they need more than just this like for like replacement. And so this was our way of understanding how to help them make better decisions about the house. And this is the thing Nate and I developed over the last decade or so. And from there, we realized we still needed a simpler process. And this is where you guys have well, the HVAC 2.0 founders helped us develop out the comfort consult. And then we realized that there was no easy on-ramp for new people without really doing a lot of hand-holding. And so the free quote processes are hopefully going to allow us to onboard people into the HVAC 2.0 process, have them experience very satisfying results, and then over time determine whether or not they want to offer the comfort consult also.
Yeah, see, I personally find that interesting because you and Nate went from the comprehensive planning process and realized that, there's another path where you can get to more people. Whereas a lot of us from the HVAC world was always doing the free quote, right? That was our bread and butter. But then we realized that we can't solve everything with that free quote. So kind of meeting in that middle with that comfort consult is.
It's been an interesting evolution. We started at the complex side and worked our way back, and most of the industry is trying to work their way into the more complex stuff.
Yep. And unfortunately, what I see, and I don't know everybody else on here, Tanner, Reedy, Ken, is everybody wants to jump from the free quote and incorporate a free quote into a comprehensive planning process. Right? Everybody's going that way.
Are you saying you can't solve everything within a house for free? Like free consulting doesn't lead to just amazing projects and fixing things?
Let's say that I've tried and not always succeeded on it. I mean, I might as well have been talking to the wall over here, right? Or my jet back here in the background, because it just wasn't doing anything.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people on Facebook. They talk about all these, how you need to do things and how you should be giving all this stuff away for free. And I don't know. Maybe they know something we don't.
Hey, we're here to share. So if they know, then I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'm just still waiting on them to show the work, though. I don't know. I don't know why they've not shown that yet. But I'm patiently waiting.
It is a different skill set to go from someone who does shell work to go from a HVAC person who installs and sells ductwork and systems and stuff like that, to go from someone who's capable and cognizant when it comes to shell work. And most people, when they do that, they can't make the adjustment to, just like what Tanner said, technical to practical. And that's what this is so good at doing.
Yeah, the implementation is hardest, is what I found, right? And then how you relay that to a homeowner, a client.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I mean, you can sit and read a book. I mean, you can just go hard for 2 years and you can learn how to fix a house. The problem is, how do you communicate that to a homeowner to where they go, oh yeah, I want to do that? Because I mean, you can be the greatest in the world at fixing whatever, but if you don't have the ability to go, okay, Miss Jones, here's what I'm looking at, what do you think we should do? And then relay information to where they go, okay, it makes sense that we should do work. Where do I sign? Well, then it's just wasted information. And that's what everyone loves to hyper focus on, the technical, but they completely forget the human interaction part, the emotional side of, okay, how do you take logical and then actually, translate it to emotional and then send it to the homeowner so they can go, okay, I understand what you're saying now.
Anybody want to tackle this question?
So can you guys talk about how, as an average boots on the ground technician, can we present the concept to management to get them on board?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I don't know who your name is because it just says Facebook user, but that's me.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I did without necessarily bringing anybody on board. I just wanted to do it, prove it, make sure it worked. And then when it worked, then I brought it on board. And if they went with it, great. If they didn't go with it, that's great too. But it made me better. It made me better. And it made me get to where I could responsibly avoid responsibility. A lot of blame shifting goes on in our business, as you all know. And so I kind of had to take the bull by the horn, so to speak. I didn't have enough money to get a business started from nothing. And so the next best thing I could do is take my future in my own hands. And that's what I did. They may not ever come on board. It just depends on who they are and what their mindset is. 90% of the people in the HVAC business are like for like people. And you've got to determine what kind of a man you want to be or woman you want to be in HVAC.
So we're going to touch on the comfort quiz here in a moment. But so everybody knows, Reedy actually does his own comfort quiz. with his leads. So he's actually converting folks to comfort consults that are free quotes. And he's not getting assistance from his office to do this. They like his jobs, but they're not terribly interested in making any changes. So that's a little bit of a barrier. And then Jeff was working for a company that had 24 salespeople across 4 locations. And they tried to implement some things. He worked real hard trying to get them to fully lean into the HVAC 2.0 process. And in the end, it was a mixed bag. He got 3 people using the process at the different locations, and they all really like it. But management has trouble seeing it. And none of us are really sure why. It's baffling. So
Yeah, and how to get that going is you have to have buy-in from leadership down.
Jeff was going for 2 years, and his numbers are huge. I don't know if they don't pay enough attention really, or they think it's some kind of a unicorn. But Ronnie's been. I mean, Ronnie, what are you? 300% of target for the year right now?
Yeah, by following the process. So again, that's where it's a leadership down thing. And you got to get everybody that's on board. The resistance makes it hard to continue to grow. So that's answering that question as in detail as we can right now.
Ronnie's at 325% of target as of April.
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Well, I also think, which before I say anything, just know what I'm about to say may be completely erroneous because I've not been in this position. But one thing that would stick out to me if I was trying to present this, the first thing I would think of is, okay, what does management care about? Identify what pain point they have, and then go, okay, by doing the type of work that I want to do, how can that alleviate their pain? And then you also got to figure out, okay, what type of person is this? Are they the type to where they receive information very well? Or are they the type that wants to take ownership of everything? So sometimes you might have to like feed them a little bit of information and then let them be the one to have the great idea. I think you got to really figure that out because you're effectively leading from down the chain of command, which is a very difficult thing to do. So it takes a lot of strategic things, especially with something that's very unorthodox. They're used to send out people for free, try to sell as much as you can, send out the sales texts, slam the Remy Halos because, they're amazing and wonderful. And as long as we can make money, who cares? But if you can start to identify, okay, well, they have pain points because they're having to deal with customers that are unhappy, or pain points that are, well, we're having to send people out and replacing equipment for free because we oversized it when we were guaranteeing that they're going to have amazing comfort because they bought a good system. And so really dig into the details, figure out what is it that they care about, and then have a strategic plan for how can I then convey this message to where they're going to be like, okay, let's give this a shot.
So getting back to the 4 questions, those are scored on a scale of 1 to 40. And if the score is less than 12, the recommendation is to have a free quote. And if it's between 13 and 18, the recommendation is to flip a coin.
Ted, you might want to back up to what the 4 questions are because
I'm sorry.
1 to 40 is a summary of all 4 of those scores.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped a slide. Are there rooms that don't heat well, don't cool well? Anybody with health issues? And are there moisture issues? So those are the 4 questions, and then
now keep it back on that. Let's keep it back on that for a second because those 4 questions are very generic. So I just want to make sure to hit that home, right? So you're asking those questions, and then once they start to give you some answers, that's when you start digging in on that and start asking more specific questions.
Right. And these questions are originally the intention was that the CSR would ask these questions and do the score. So it would be something simple that a CSR could do. And in Jeff's case, the service techs would do this. So service techs were supposed to be asking the 4 questions and taking static pressure at every job. And by having both of those, all of that information, it helped them give really good advice to the homeowner, because if there's high static, they want to be aware that like for like might create problems for them. With
Yeah, and incorporating here with the 4 questions as well, you hit on static. You know, we knew the first standards were coming. We knew the fan energy ratings were changing, right? In 2019, July 3rd, 2019. So even years prior to that, we tried to start training all of our technicians that you must check static pressure on every call. And that's valuable information to know to that next step to your salesperson, your sales staff, whatever that may be.
Yeah, if you see high static, now the guys are just sort of instantly recognizing that, wow, maybe we can downsize the equipment. Maybe we can do a bad drop, big filter. So it gets them thinking about how not to have a blown up ECM.
If we tie that to the question from the technician, technicians like to solve problems. That's why technicians go out there. That's where they get their satisfaction. A lot of times it's replacing a part, excuse me, but oftentimes they're too focused on replacing a part instead of going to those broad questions. And the homeowner knows their home better than the technician does. They can tell them what's a problem, and the technician can then take the information they get and turn that into a sales lead or an upsell, an improvement on the system, which makes them look even better. Remembering that technicians like being heroes.
And also allows you to responsibly avoid responsibility if one chooses to not do something.
Yeah, just as with Ronnie's question that's up on the screen now.
Yeah, so Ronnie's pointing out that the idea behind these scores is there a recommendation rather than a hard sell. So if a homeowner gets a 24, ideally what you would suggest to them is it possible for them to lower their number on the comfort quiz on any of the answers? But maybe they're only going to be there a year, so they're okay suffering. The idea is that this is to provide guidance to the homeowner, not to be an arm twist. And the score is automatically calculated in the software.
And which, one more thing, just because you ask the questions once, it's not a one and done type thing. So you also, if you're going to, when you start asking these types of questions, you have to expect that the homeowner is going to have their guard up, because they're immediately going to go, okay, this is some sales tactic. They're going to try to talk me into something, blah, blah, blah. So just because they give you an answer, just because you ask for the questions and they say, oh no, I have no problems whatsoever, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not problems. So you always want to keep in the back of your mind that if you get the hint of something, start asking more questions, reverse, over and over.
This is where your Sandler comes in and helps. But also, a lot of times these questions are the first time somebody's asked. And so they're not really prepared to give a good answer because they hadn't thought about it. So one of the things that we're hoping to do is for the Comfort Consult is get a lot of those questions answered before the sales consultant gets to the house, so that he can hit the ground reviewing answers instead of asking brand new questions. Because the second time through, you're going to get much better answers.
Yes. And in my experience so far, I've not really had people to purposely try to mislead me with answers they give. It's more of they don't quite put 2 and 2 together yet, because you're the HVAC guy. They think, oh, you're the person that works on the equipment outside, and you're here to try to replace it. that's it. So when you start asking questions about the whole house, they don't necessarily put two and two together yet. And so it kind of takes a little bit further down the conversation for you ask, do you have any summer comfort problems? And they'll say, absolutely not. And then 20 minutes later, they're telling you about how half of the house is always 10 degrees hotter than the rest of the house. And so internally, you're going to be like, well, you said there was no problems before, but there's a good chance that they didn't, when you asked the question, they didn't really come to their mind, even though it seems obvious to us. They just go, well, the old system worked fine. I don't need anything extra. But then it kind of comes down to, oh, well, actually, I do have this one problem. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've got this other problem. And so that's how you really start to pull that out.
Yeah. And what happens if you don't pull that out? You replace the system and you didn't address those needs. Who are they calling back? Who's dealing with the warranty, right?
Exactly.
The complaints, all that.
Yeah. So long as you've asked these questions, you can always fall back on, well, Mrs. Smith, as you may recall, at the beginning of our process, we offered two paths. We offered the free quote path and we offered the comfort consult path. And we ran through a quiz of your comfort issues. And based on the comfort issues you had at the time, a free quote is what you chose. So I'm sorry to hear that you're having problems now. Are you saying that you'd like to hire us to come out and do a comfort consult? And what that'll do is, half of the people will say, yeah, I guess I do want a comfort consult. And the other half will say, oh, that's right. I did say that, didn't I? No, that's okay. So all of those people that otherwise would get you running around like a chicken with your head cut off, just because they like to see you tap dance, end up being pushed out. And only the people that really have problems that they're willing to spend money to solve are going to have you coming back. It'll save a lot of warranty money. Anybody want to talk about warranty savings?
Business owners hate warranty calls. They don't get any more money. They actually lose money because instead of having their techs out there getting income, now they're out there working for free and not bringing in income.
Anybody have any situations where people have been upset after a comfort consult with the outcome of their house?
Not had one, not with the comfort consult.
So is it fair to say that you're likely to cut warranty calls by what percentage? 99%?
Like Ken said, greater than 50. I mean, it's a mechanical piece of equipment. You can't help a factory failure, right? So greater than 50, like Ronnie said, 1 and 2 years. It's usually, a setup issue that you see, maybe on commissioning or of install. It's not been that the system's just not working or there's any other issues.
And what kind of warranty? So you did a lot of warranty service calls, didn't you, Jeff?
Yeah, which led me through that, of trying to find the process that worked from the beginning, and then trying to implement it within an organization. So, yeah, a lot of warranty, a lot of headache.
So, so everybody knows, Jeff and I are working on a warranty comfort consult, so that the service techs can actually go out and follow a process that's similar to the sales comfort consult, but more geared towards warranty situations that'll lead to really good outcomes.
I think it's important to distinguish the difference in warranty calls going back. There's one thing of having just equipment that breaks. That's something that's going to happen. Like, you're going to have lemons in equipment. You're going to have coils that leak. That just happens. But the real thing of what you're trying to cut down on is a homeowner making a bad decision per your recommendation and then blaming you when things aren't working the way that you said they were. And the reason you can avoid that is, it comes down to it's 100% your responsibility to explore the options and it is 0% your responsibility for the options that the homeowner takes, as long as it was offered to begin with and you've thoroughly articulated the difference in them. And so by having that option, you cut down those warranty calls on problems that were outside of the equipment itself, as far as the equipment itself breaking. If you put it on into shitty ductwork because the static pressure was high, well, if you've informed them and you said, hey, there's a good chance you could have really early failures, and they say, I don't care, just give it to me, that's not on you. If they have a really leaky house and they're trying to control humidity and they go with a single stage unit and it doesn't work, that's not on you. So these are things that you can avoid, and that's what you should be look, because those are the ones that are a real headache. Because what happens then? I mean, if a capacitor goes out and they're, you got to go replace it, whoop-de-doo. Like, who cares about doing that warranty call? But it's a big problem when you've put in a new piece of equipment and you've told them that their humidity is going to be great because the sales flyer said so. And now they're going, well, my humidity is 70%. Well, now what are you going to do? You're just going to start giving them free dehumidifiers until the problem goes away? Those are the headaches that you really want to avoid.
And those are things that I've experienced personally where we were giving those things away for free to try to solve an issue that we didn't responsibly avoid responsibility on.
So let me blast through these last couple of slides. So we're going to be primarily focusing on the rollout of the free quote. Some of the basic tenets of HVAC 2.0 is no free consulting. Do like-for-like changeouts, unless they give you a specification. So if they have a written specification or clearly communicate a specification and you document that it came from them, you could change the size of the equipment. Put the weight on them for sizing. You're not there to guess what size. What size do you think you need? You live in the house. Right now, we're both guessing. Happy to install whatever you specify, but if duct pressure is above manufacturer's spec, you're going to be responsible for the duct modifications. So put the duct sizing on the homeowner. It's their ductwork, not yours.
Which is also why during the free quote, what we have built in and what we're trying to build into it is, as you said, it's something that we're working on, is offer and decline, as you mentioned earlier, on checking duct pressure.
And the 60-second video that talks about duct pressure and makes it clear that you're going to be your own warranty station if you're above 0.5 static, Mr. or Mrs. homeowner.
Now, what about the municipalities, such as I think Reedy, where you're required to do a load calc? What's that look like in the A path, the free quote path?
So what we're hoping to build, and it's got an acronym already. What's it called?
LLR, likely load range.
So basically, we're going to create a very simple load calc that shows a homeowner what the load is on the house with a 0.5 blower door leakage to air, and then 5 leakage to air ratio. So it'll show them a range of sizing, for example, of 2.5 to 4.5 tons, and say, okay, so without measured infiltration, 80 to 90% of houses fall within this range of leakage. So if you want to guess what your leakage is, do you think you're on the high side of the 80%, or do you think you're on the low side of the 80%? Because this is how that sizing is going to look.
Well, I think Tanner says or believes that you can visually see it. Is that right, Tanner?
Oh yeah. Well, you just go up in the attic and you just look at it. If you can't tell how leaky a house is without looking at it, well then, you just don't know what you're doing.
Can't get yeah, exactly. You can know exactly what that infiltration is just by looking at it.
I read this article one time that said it does that, so it's got to be true.
Facts.
I love when Corbett talks about how he always guesses, then he measures, and a lot of times he's surprised.
Yep.
So the Comfort Consult is a paid service. It takes time. probably takes twice as much time as a free quote. But if most of our guys are getting $400 or $500 for it, and then you're going to have an 70 to 80% closing ratio on $20,000 to $40,000 jobs. So it's all good on that side. Now 70% typically are going to be free quotes, and our free quote process hopefully is going to make that a whole lot nicer for everybody. And then 30% will go to comfort consults if asked properly. Don't sell the comfort consult. Let the comfort quiz educate the homeowner, and then let the homeowner decide.
I think it's important to point out that the goal, like, you don't go into this going, I'm going to sell comfort consults the entire time. Like, it's easy to look at these numbers we've been talking about and go, oh, well, that's great. I'm just going to only do comfort consults. Well, your objective here is to get the homeowner, to help the homeowner make the best decision for them. Because there's going to be a lot of times where, like for like replacement is all they need. So you don't want to push anything, because when you do, what happens if you push a comfort consult on somebody and they have the same results as they did beforehand, and they're kind of sitting back going, well, why did I spend this money for something that I could have potentially got for free? And the only reason they're going to feel that way is if you start pushing things. Like, anytime that you're selling, you're doing it wrong. So the point is, let the chips fall where they may. Let the homeowners choose what's best for them. Your only objective is to educate them to where they understand their choices.
So, interview, blower door test, quick load calc report. It's all built into the software, the report. And you get paid for your knowledge. What we've found is doing a better job of informing homeowners of their choices when it comes to equipment allows for them to choose better equipment, which oftentimes is going to solve existing problems. Less and less are we, I mean, originally we thought every house needed shell work. And then over time, we're like, oh, well, maybe only 30% of the houses need shell work. Oh, and then we got to the point where maybe 3% of the houses need shell work. Now we're down to like 1/100th% needs serious shell work, besides maybe, crawl space encapsulation. And that's where you get the comprehensive planning process. So the way to think about this is clinic, ER, operating room, ICU. Most people go to the clinic and that's all they need. Some people will get redirected to an ER and then have to go and just either be watched after a little bit or have to go to the operating room. Very few are going to have to go to the ICU. But having the ICU available, which is what we provide, the support we provide to back you up, makes it easier to be confident in doing everything that falls below it. So, yeah, this is probably 29.9% and 0.1% for the comprehensive planning process. All righty. Now, I think Jeff is going to show us.
I think you got another slide there, right?
Oh, let me see. Yeah, okay. So, close out with HVAC 2.0 principles. Give more than you take. The process is sacred. It's a narrow path. Responsibly avoid responsibility. Find the sweet spot. Do no harm. Be the guide, not the hero. Represent 2.0 well to others.
The big thing out of that is be the guide, not the hero.
That's
Especially-
a hard transition for people to make, because as a salesperson, you're taught to walk in there as the hero who knows everything. Who's here to save the day.
Even the technicians are, you know, we're taught to, hey, we're going to be the hero. We're there at night. We're there on the weekend. We're there whenever. You know, even on that side, the technician side, without offering options, and again, guiding by educating, you end up being the hero. And what if that doesn't fix it? Right. So it's a narrow, like you said, it's a narrow path all throughout.
Okay, so shall we show them what the software looks like?
Tanner, anything?
Actually, I would want to mention one thing of the list that was last up. The process is sacred. I'd like to touch on this just because this is something that likes to get a lot of simpler minded people up in frizzles. They like to get a little butthurt over some words. So I just want to kind of explain this in more simple terms to where it makes more sense as to what it's supposed to be. I'm going to give it an example. In jiu-jitsu, this is a martial art. If you walk into a gym and you've got the head instructor, he's a black belt. It took him 10, 15 years to earn this black belt. He's been training 7 days a week ever since he's been training. You can't go in day one and try to tell this black belt, hey, I know you're telling me I should do it this way, but I think this other way is a lot better because I've trained judo before. And obviously it's got, both of them have J's in the name, so they have to be similar, right? You're going to get laughed at. And then if you don't get beat up, you're probably going to get kicked out eventually if you just keep running your mouth. The whole point is that you have to,
Learn the process
the black belt,
first.
yes, when the black belt says do step A through D, learn that, master it, and then you can start changing things and start creating your own variations because you've mastered it. You thoroughly understand it. If you've never done it before, you don't thoroughly understand it. So the reason we'll say the process is sacred is because if you don't know what you're doing, you can't go and start trying to change things up because you don't understand the way things are supposed to be. When you ask a question, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how to pick up on certain cues yet. And so you need to master the process in which we know what the outcome is most likely going to be. Until you master that, you don't know what to expect when you go changing things. You're just going out and just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks. So the whole point of the whole catchphrase, whatever you want to call it, is to just learn what's being shown in front of you. And then once you master that, then you understand it well enough that you can do it the way that you would like, because then you understand the
improve
pitfall.
it possibly. But people that don't understand what they're doing make
Yes.
suggestions that we've already realized by making those mistakes in the past are stupid suggestions.
Yes.
And it's like this path right here. Walk this path 1,000 times till you can do it blindfolded. And then if you want to explore around the edges, you'll be familiar with the edges because you'll have seen the edges 1,000 times. And then you can swing yourself off the cliff and start rock climbing if you want. But if you just go jumping off the cliff, you know, it
doesn't do anything.
You're not going to make it back.
Yeah, you're just going to hurt yourself. It's a complete waste of time. And anybody that is willing to try to help you is also wasting their time. I mean, if your boxing coach is telling you use head movement to get inside, don't go, you know what? I can't really see him well when I'm moving my head, so I'm going to keep it still. You're going to get your face beat in and everybody's going to laugh at you. And then you're just going to be like, yeah, but he should have listened to me. He didn't understand. In my area, the homeowners are like this. And so I have to do it this weird special way that's alien to everyone else in the country.
One thing to take into account for that, it may imply that the process is rigid and there's absolutely nothing that can be altered in it. It's actually a flexible process, but if you don't understand the process, you're just likely to get yourself into trouble trying to flex it.
Exactly.
Okay. Jeff, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You're added to the stream. Describe what we're looking at.
So this right here is a list of my clients, and this is from last year to date.
So those are all comfort consults.
A majority of these, 99% of them are comfort consults.
Okay. And a few of them are experimenting with free quote path.
Yes. Yep.
So this is a initial, go ahead.
Yeah, nope, you're fine. So when you first log in and everything, I mean, this is what we're going to see, right? Is you're going to have your list of all your people, and we're going to add someone. So what you can do is, are they a current client? Yes, no, right? Put it in however you want. So put all their information in. So you guys can kind of fill in
Some
here
future
too.
things that we're hoping to do, you put this address in, is similar to auditor, get you to the point where you get to the house truing up your energy audit instead of building the energy audit. And the first iteration of that is likely the load range, likely load range for those of you that are required to do load calcs for your municipalities.
Yep. And this is where I see in the future, right? Because we're still working on that APATH and it being completed. So hopefully in the next, month or so, it'll be ready. But what's this service about? I can see this going from service replacement. I know we could put other, but it'd be nice if there was a little thing here, where we could put, like, if it's a warranty, because you had hinted at that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But again, most people are going to put in replacement, and then you could put in how they were referred, employee, whatever it may be, if it were a TO. So these are the questions that we talked about earlier, right? So
set them all to 3 and you'll be able to show at the bottom.
Yeah. So if they all answer 3 on each one of them, what we'll see down here is total score 12, and it says low, right? So it automatically calculates it, and then it throws up a video here of what may be recommended for that total score. So there's a video that pops up as well. Would you like me to play it? It's
Sure.
a short video.
I'm Nate Adams, CEO of HVAC 2.0. Thanks for taking the comfort quiz. Most people who score below 13 choose the free quote path. This is an industry standard like-for-like replacement. These visits typically take between 45 and 90 minutes. Our clients consistently report that watching the next few short videos really helps them in the 15 or 20-year decision that you're about to make. This video will roll into that, or click the links below. Thanks again, and good luck with your project.
So the nice thing about that, the additional videos that are on there are going to be the duct pressure, the 6 functions of HVAC videos that can really help, again, educate that client for you before you even get into the home.
Just for giggles, slide that bottom one over some.
Which one?
Like, yeah, that one. Slide it up. So there you go. You got an 18.
So when you're in there, you score something that's greater than 8 on one of these. That's usually a big enough pain point that if you don't do something about it, and to responsibly avoid responsibility, you are going to be held accountable for those issues indefinitely after.
Yeah, you want to say to this homeowner, are you sure you don't want to do a comfort consult? If they say, yeah, we really don't want to, say, well, do me a favor and slide this down to a 6 or a 7.
So, and if they decide, yep, that's fine, I don't want to do it, I want to do that, then we can move it down. But what's most important to me and the training that I do to technicians and stuff, and even salespeople, is that the details that you can put here. So if they did score it at a 9, why did they score it at a 9? Whatever they've mentioned to you or told you, make sure you document that. So that's all back to that, the documentation and offer decline.
Repeating people's pain back to them is an integral part of the whole Sandler selling system. You're going to have to redirect them back. So remember when you said this, and keep reminding them that the whole reason for this is to solve that comfort issue in Johnny's room.
And then from here again, once they score that, they go over it, they verify it. We educate them on both paths, both the free quote and the comfort consult path. Then they get to decide what they want. So to me, what's nice about this is, once you have all this in here, you select your date, this is something that even internal team can do. Right?
Yeah.
So we can hit that. And then once that's there, we can submit that. And it will create that for us.
So, and you can have this on your website so that prospects can fill that out.
Yeah.
But, and once they've filled it out, they've created themselves as a customer in the software. So this is
right back here.
John Doe in the software now.
So, and then
there's 4 questions.
Yep. So from there with that, so say this was created in the office or whatever it may be. In my case, I usually create it the day of or the night before, whatever, before going out there. But the first thing you want to do is go over the 4 questions. So you can go back in here. You can see any notes that's put in here, validate that they scored it. Because as it was mentioned earlier, the first time they hear a question, they may not fully grasp it or understand it. But then once you kind of go over it again, they may change it.
Yeah, though, some things will often have occurred to them, and they'll be glad to have that asked again because, I'm glad you're asking me again, because after I answered that, I realized here's a better answer.
Yeah. Yep. And then that goes back to that roadmap that you kind of showed earlier that we were talking about, is that I think I saw somewhere that someone had asked about the AB emails. Well, those are things that are integrated into the software that, that you can send out to clients before your visits. So
you want to send the homeowner kind of a summary of what to expect from the visit and what to be prepared for. And so we have some standard emails for that.
Yep. So from here again, this is still work in progress. So kind of get to see the raw side of it. Right. So show hints. So first time people that are going to be using it and seeing it here, this is just little tips that we'll have in here. Once you start to understand what these questions are and why they're there, then you can remove the hints. But we'll go through, we'll ask questions. How deep into this do you guys want to go?
We're over the hour right now. So we should probably blaze through it.
Yep. So again, we have it set up from working with a lot of contractors across the country and knowing a lot of contractors across the country. And Reedy may be able to attest to this, Ken. What sales process do sales guys have?
Whatever they want.
Whatever they want, right?
Shoot from the hip.
Yep.
Shoot from the hip.
Just trust me, Mrs. Jones. I know what you need.
Yeah. So what's really nice about this is that you're going to have, it's going to be documented. You're going to ask questions. You're going to set yourself apart. You're different than that next person. You're actually listening to them. You're taking the time to write these things down, and still offer different options, right? You're being the guide to whatever they decide that they want to do.
What you're saying to me right now, Mr. Doe, sounds important. Do you mind if I take notes?
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there, there's videos that's going to be linked into it. So maybe they didn't watch the videos. You can offer it. At any point, again, we do offer that off ramp to a comfort console if they choose to, especially if they start, saying that they have some issues that they'd like to address, or, hey, what with this new system that we put in for you, what would you like it to change, if anything?
Yeah, and having this offered throughout is important because every time they decline, they're taking a little bit more ownership of any comfort issues that they have after you sell them that single stage piece of crap.
Yeah. And again, if that's what they choose, so be it. But again, we'll go through, we'll document yes, no's, we'll answer all these. If you have a long answer, expand things out. So here's where we do also offer duct pressure testing. So say it's a marketed lead. Don't know what the duct pressure
ductwork
is.
looks questionable, you really need to ask these questions, or you're taking ownership with your silence.
Or if the system is loud.
I think it needs to be asked irregardless, even
Oh
if the
no, I
system
think it
looks
needs
amazing.
to be asked regardless. But that's the point I'm trying to make is this is really important.
Yeah,
especially with new equipment that requires that may require more airflow.
Yeah, again, the first standards, right, from 2019.
Yeah,
going from a PSE to these new EC motors. Again, it's still got these videos that they can watch. If they haven't, you can offer it to them if they want to watch it with you, or you want me to send this to you. You can share it right from the software. Duct pressure video, offer the testing. They say yes, no. Again, document. From here, we can ask our budget questions, and then do you want your equipment on the spot? So the nice thing is as you're going through this, if there's some side notes that you want to take, is you can actually jump through here and throw some notes in that will save for internally for yourself to remind you. Or you can always go back to the 4 questions and go, hey, look, you mentioned this here, but you just told me this. So you can always go back and bounce back and forth.
And you always want to go, if something doesn't add up, if they give you one response earlier and then 20 minutes later they give an answer of something that contradicts that, always re-ask that question. And it's going to feel uncomfortable at times to do that, but that's exactly why you have to do it. Because if you don't, and you let that go through, every time you don't ask a question, you're just giving them, increasing the likelihood that they're going to be pointing fingers at you at the end of the day.
And maybe you just didn't ask it right the first time. Right? So you can save that. And then from there, we'll go through this real quick, is we have all of our measurements. So the nice thing about the measurements is once you run through everything and you save the data, it's actually going to create a sheet for your internal team on ordering things. So let me show you here. All our inputs, sizing, models of what the existing equipment is. If you have mini splits or indoor units, you can type in all that. And then you can continue to add heads and stuff like that on your units. Outdoor unit, electrical service, whatever you may have there. All that, again, like I said, goes into a spec sheet for your office team or for documents. You can add photos, any ductwork notes that you may see, all the way through airflow measurements if we choose to do so, and static pressure worksheet. So this is where you can select your unit. Say it's a downflow. There you go. And what we do is we input our static here. And there you go. Calculate your, well, See, again, work in process, guys. Right? It's not accurately calculating that. So that's why we said give it about a month. Joys of software. And this is where Nate has talked about in the past, where we have our load matching, dehumidification, or mixing, and our options, right?
Homeowners love this because it helps them understand. I mean, the typical sales approach has always been to, well, what's the difference between this piece of equipment and that? Well, that's a SEER 13 and this is a SEER 15 and that's a SEER 17. How, I mean, you're not telling me anything about the equipment to encourage me to get better equipment. Whereas this tells you what the better equipment does. Like, oh, I'm going to spend an extra $3,000 to save $25 a year. That just doesn't make any sense. So you got to give them an understanding of the features that the equipment has so that they can understand whether those features are going to be important to them. I love this smiley face shit.
Yeah. And pick your install type, right? You know, it's choose your own adventure. It's choose your own path. What do you want to do? I'll educate you. You get to make the decision. So having this on here, you know, what's included or downgrades or upgrades is, and that's just one template. So again, you could do any template like Nate said. And then this is for that LLR. Hopefully this will be in the software at some point, but it will automatically input some of this for you on your sizing. So you don't have to go in and guess your leakage or look at those leaks, Tanner, and figure out what that leakage is.
Yeah, you
just send me pictures. I'll tell you what
square
it is.
footage,
Okay.
and it'll calculate both sides of the leakage.
Now Tanner is the specialist, so like you said, you send him pictures, you pay him a fee, and he'll tell you what the leakage is.
Right down to the single CFM.
He's very, very good at it.
Oh yeah. Just if you don't test it, I'm accurate 100% of the time.
So save it. It's here. And again, generate quote form will populate here. And then also you'll have your internal form as well. Then from there, what you'll do is you'll purchase if you're not subscribed, right? Or you'll be able to actually.
Yeah. So you can sign up for this software for free.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use a lot of it for free. But these reports, if you're not a subscriber, you have to buy these one-off. So the free quote process is a $10 report, and a comfort consult is a $25 report. I think that was answering Jason's question.
Yeah. Yep. I just got back over so I could see him. Yeah, you can have what you said, subscription or pay per report.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you get a
Thank
response?
you very much.
How often do you get a response from the AB emails? On the initial emails, I don't get responses. Well, I'd say probably 2 out of 5 reply back and say thanks for the information on my end. When I get there with the client and I start talking about it, they do tell me that they've received the email. So I don't know about everybody else. The response that you get on that.
Yeah, well, you're also typically, I mean, with any email like this that you should be sending, you should have hear what are the next steps are. So rather than just sending it to the abyss and hoping that you get something from it, which with an AB email, you're just basically prepping them for what to expect. So really the next step is to perform the A or the B visit. But now if it's a follow-up report and these types of emails are really good to send for anything that you do. And so after, you do something or before and you send it, if you want a response, just, indicate of I'll reach out with you by X amount of time and double check and make sure you don't have any other concerns or questions. So, you want it to be to where they know what to expect is going to happen afterwards. You don't want to rely on them to just do what you think they should do.
Reedy, you've been very quiet. I think
I'm
it's late.
listening and taking it all in.
You have any thoughts or observations so far?
I think that for some of these fellows who are here, Jason, Jason, I think that you should put your feet in the water and try and see what you think about it. Maybe do this. Maybe do the pay a couple of them, and then, when there's a little bit more to get involved in that. But I think you should do it. I think you're going to learn a lot, and I think you're going to make yourself a much happier person at the end of the day. If it was me, that's what I did. That's what I did, and I am much happier. So I think you will be as well. It's a great process.
Yeah, anybody that wants to, it just
You were on the free plan for a while in the beginning, weren't you, Jeff? Checking it out, deciding whether or not you liked the report, how the report was working for.
Yeah. I mean, I paid per report on several of them before I jumped in, but the report got me there. But how to take it to that next level, I mean, I've learned from Reedy, Ken, Tanner, everybody that's part of that group. So that knowledge is vast within the group, even outside the group, right? But how do you take that knowledge and how do you apply it? So going back several episodes, right? Knowledge unapplied is useless. That's what I was doing. So how do you take it to that next level?
Yeah, this process is not for the guy wearing a plaid sports coat telling you how much better your life is going to be if you buy our product. This is the process for the honest technician and the honest salesman who really wants to help a customer solve a problem. And we know we've got the information. We know we've got the equipment. And it helps the customer decide what's best for them. First, what do they want and what can they afford? And then we can help them make a decision based on those things. So they feel good. We feel good. We have fewer problems with the installation and the performance. It's a winning situation for everybody.
All done ethically.
Yep. If you're like me, and I know I am.
So in other words, if you wear plaid, it's just not going to work.
Not for
I don't
you.
know what to tell you.
Plaid and a white belt.
Grandpa. Well, thank you guys. That was it's not, we didn't go that far over. 9:18.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to be the number 2 ninja.
Rich has a question. Let's see. Yeah,
That's not a question. That's a plea.
that's a true statement.
We didn't have 560 slides to go through, so we didn't have a direction.
I know. I know. Any other questions from the peanut gallery, Peckerwoods?
Ask us your hardest question.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I guess we'll end here. See you next week. Nate will be back next week, so
He's the
for
big
those Nate fans that were
The
disappointed
slides.
by this week, our apologies.
Mr. Slide will be back next week.
Mr. Slides.
Good night, guys.
Just slide on in.
On to next.